Thanks for attending 5 Reasons Google Shopping Doesn't Work for Some Retailers, hosted by myself, Liam Patterson, the CEO of Bidnamic. So why are we doing this talk? Well, the most frustrating thing for us, and even more for the companies we speak to, is when we're in conversation about Google Shopping, to realise that it's just not going to be a channel which is going to work for scaling their business. And that's absolutely brilliant to discover, because it means that they don't waste time, energy, money chasing after the wrong channel to advertise their products and grow their business. It's not a case that if Google Shopping doesn't work for you, no channel is going to work for you. That's absolutely not the case. It's simply it's the wrong choice. Maybe social media, maybe SEO, maybe PR is going to be the right channel for you. So again, it's something we're really passionate about, is conveying the challenges with Google Shopping and when it is the right and wrong channel to grow your business. So first of all, who am I and what's Bidnamic? So all we do is Google Shopping. So we're absolute experts in Google Shopping, and we get involved when a business has been doing Google Shopping for a while and they start to hit a ceiling. That ceiling can be around growth, so growing the month-on-month revenues and achieving their growth targets, or about the profitability. The channel can be working well for them, but just not at that profitability that they deserve and that they require to grow their business. So we work with hundreds of retailers, many of the fastest growing companies in the world. And we're really proud, in fact, that the Sunday Times recognised 3 of our clients as the first, second and 5th fastest growing retailers in the UK where we're based. We also have a host of retailers all around the world and a very large and growing contingent in the United States as well. So that's my background. Is I'm the CEO of the company. So I'm going to talk now for the next 30 minutes around Google Shopping and the challenges for it. But before I dive into that, I first wanted to explain the rules of the game. So Google Shopping, I'm sure you've seen it as a consumer, a carousel of adverts. You go to Google, search for a product, and this carousel is displayed. It's typically 5 products that are shown on there. It can be expanded, and it's a cost per click channel. So what that means is it's free to show up. You can be shown your products as many times to as many shoppers as are coming up, and there's going to be no costs. But the moment that one of those shoppers or browsers clicks onto one of your products, you're going to be paying Google a cost per click. And that can range anywhere from a penny right the way up to tens of pounds, £10, £20 a click. So it's a really competitive channel, but it's really intent-based as well. So shoppers are going to Google, they're spending their time typing in exactly the products that you're selling, and at that moment they're doing that to discover and often buy products as well. So it's a really profitable place to come up. But as the internet and e-commerce has grown, particularly over the last year, but every single year that it's been around, there's more and more competition. So there's now millions of retailers competing for what is very limited real estate on Google Shopping, typically 5 positions. So how do you show up? First of all, you've got to have a relevant product for what the customer's searching. So if they're searching for the product, Google's going to decide to show your product or not show your product. And from there, the order at which you're shown is based on how much you're willing to bid. So the higher the cost per click, the more you're going to move across this carousel to the left position, which you can see here is the largest position as well. And that's really important because this is known as the top impression, and it will receive 60 to 65% of all the clicks will go onto this top impression. And it happens irrelevant of price. It's not the cheapest, it's not the fastest delivered, and it's not the most trusted, which are what shoppers often cite as the reasons why they click onto that first position. But in reality, it's just the advertiser or the retailer who's willing to pay Google the most for that click, and therefore gets to the front of the carousel by outbidding their other retailers that are competing for that click, which can often be hundreds or even thousands of retailers. So it can feel quite overwhelming and quite complex. And this is why retailers often struggle to get their visibility, showing up on the carousel for the right search terms, and to do it profitably at scale. And again, that's where our background comes in. But this talk is really going to focus around why reasons that Google Shopping doesn't work for many retailers. So there's 5 reasons, and I'm going to go through each one in quite a rapid fire. But again, this is great to identify if it's not going to work for you, because you can save thousands or even tens of thousands of pounds, which you'll otherwise spend in trialing, editing, optimizing your campaigns, just to realize at the end of it, actually, this isn't the right channel for you. So if these things stand out to you as reasons why you're not going to be successful, please do avoid this channel and find the channel that's going to work to grow your business in the right manner. So the first point is search volume. So because this is shown when someone goes to Google and types in the product that you're selling, if there's nobody searching for your products, there's no opportunity to show up, there's no opportunity to get clicks, and there's no opportunity to get sales. So what types of products might have a very low volume of people searching for them? Well, often they're the most innovative, wow products that if you walk down the street, you see it, you're like, wow, I did not know that existed. And at that point, you have an impulse purchase and buy it. And these products are really, really well versed in being shown on things like social media, where you can target down to demographics and individual personas who are going to be interested in that type of product. Show it to them on the social media channels and get them to click and buy from there. However, if there isn't an existing awareness around the products you're selling, people are not going to be going to Google in a high enough volume to make this channel really successful for you. So again, with Google Shopping, we're tapping in to existing demand for similar products, similar brands, or in fact the exact brands and products you're selling. The second reason that Google Shopping can fail is that you need to be price competitive. So this is very different to Amazon, where Amazon is all about being the cheapest, the lowest cost, winning that buy box through having that really competitive price. Google Shopping, that is not the case. You do not need to be the cheapest on Google Shopping. I'll say that again. You do not need to be the cheapest on Google Shopping. But what you do need to be is price competitive in the true meaning of the word. 10 to 15% next to your competitors. And that's really important because this is how it looks to the shopper. They will search for the product and they'll see this product and they'll see often the identical or very, very similar product next to it. If there's a huge price discrepancy, naturally they're going to choose to click onto the second product advert, and therefore you're not going to get the clicks, you're not going to get the sales, you're not going to get the revenue. So here's two examples where we can see retailers who are really being too expensive, yet they're paying the most for that click to get to the front of the carousel. So just think about, is price something that you're competitive on? And are you competitive on all of your products or only some of them? Because again, Google Shopping might just work for a selection where you're very price competitive and the others can be discovered when someone gets to the website. So again, don't need to be the cheapest, but you need to be competitive. The third one is around the average order value. So this is after they've clicked onto the advert, they get to your website. So imagine on your website, if they're only checking out, so adding to the cart and buying a £10 order from that click. But on your competitor's website, they're clicking onto the website, the same advert, costing the same amount, maybe it's 20p for you and for them, but on their website, they're adding an extra item to it, and they're checking out and spending £20. That means you've both got the same cost, so 20p for the click, but you're only making £10 where they're making £20, because the average order value or the average cart value is much bigger on your competitor's website. So what leads to that? Why would your competitor be able to have a bigger average order value? It often comes down to product range. So if you've got a very niche product range, just for example, a couple of shoes, whereas they've got a whole range of shoes, maybe they've got shoe cleaning kits, maybe they've got laces, maybe they've got other very similar and related products. Maybe they're running shoes and they've got running shorts, they've got running tops, they've got drinks bottles. These things are going to mean that they're going to be able to get a better average order value than you, and this can make it a really hard channel to scale because they can bid twice as much as you can to be profitable if your average order value is significantly lower than your other retailers, because you have a very narrow range or very diverse range, meaning you're not going to be able to easily cross-sell products and upsell products when they're on the website. The fourth reason that e-commerce retailers often struggle with Google Shopping is that the website site speed. So what do I mean by that? Well, site speed is after you've clicked onto the advert, or the shopper has clicked onto the advert on Google Shopping, it's cost you, for example, 20p, and they get to your website, and shoppers are very impatient. If, for example, this is real data from an outdoor retailer we work with, if the website loads in 3 seconds, their conversion rate, so the conversion rate is how many clicks to get a sale, was at 2.55%. And we can see as their seconds got longer, as it moved from 3 seconds to 4 seconds, the conversion rate declined. As they moved to 6 seconds, it fell from 2.55 to 1.76. Well, why does that matter? It matters because you're having to buy more traffic, more clicks, which are costing you 20p a time, for example, but you're now getting fewer sales from this, simply because your website is slow to load. So that impacts on Google Shopping your return. so your return on ad spend. So we can see how at 3 seconds, for every £1 spent on ads by this outdoor retailer, they were getting £10.40 back. But when they moved to 6 seconds or 7 seconds, that £10.40 fell to £6.10, so almost halved. And that has a huge impact for their business. So it was a 41% loss of revenue from moving from 3 seconds to 7 seconds. So if you're on that journey, get your website to be quick. It doesn't need to be the quickest, obviously the quicker the better, but just make sure you've not got a really slow e-commerce website. If you have, maybe look at replatforming, so moving from one type of e-commerce store to a new site. Also look at what you can do to improve that site speed. It can be image sizes, it can be other modules and pop-ups that you might have on your site. It could also be your hosting provider as well. So those are the areas you should look at first before spending on Google Shopping, which is going to be costly and not give you the desired return that you're going to need to have to really scale the channel in line with your competition. The fifth reason is purchase intent, and this is probably the most impactful reason. So on Google Shopping, unlike other channels like Google Text Ads, so on Google Text Ads, you can say what words you want to come up for. So naturally, the longer the search term, maybe referencing, for example, the brand, the model, the gender, the size that they're looking for of the product, so in this example, a shoe, the more likely it is that they're going to purchase. So we see customers move from awareness, maybe not aware of what they're looking for, something like running shoe, right the way through to consideration, maybe men's running shoe, maybe Adidas or Nike running shoe, moving through to purchase. They're getting more refined. They maybe know the model, the size, the color of that shoe. So at that point, they're so much more through their buying journey, from not knowing what type of running shoe to buy to knowing the exact model. They're far more likely to buy that exact model at that point. So this is really, really important. And it's something that Google shopping ads are very tricky to get, because often a lot of agencies and providers believe that it's just up to Google. And you can only optimize your product feed to include the titles and the brands. This isn't true. You can, through optimizing your Google shopping campaign, you can ensure that you're showing up more often and more frequently for more targeted search terms. However, this is a lot of work, and if you've got a large product range, it really is starting to go beyond what a human can manage in terms of the scale. So they're the kind of reasons, the 5 reasons why Google Shopping doesn't work for many retailers. So they're really rapid fire analysis. So if you've heard those 5 reasons, one stood out to you, it could be there's no demand for what you're selling. It's not going to be the right channel for you. It could be that you're competitive, but you're just not really competitive enough. Maybe you're selling locally to a local market, absolutely fine. Maybe it's that your average order value, you've got a very narrow and niche product range compared to your competitors. Maybe it's your site speed as well. Or maybe it's simply how your campaigns have been built. These can really hold you back and mean it's not going to be the right channel for you. But if it is, I'm now going to move into a deep dive. So feel free to jump off if you don't think this is going to be for you. It makes total sense. And hopefully that's just saved you tens of thousands of pounds of trial and error. And if not, we're going to deep dive into the 3 reasons that retailers are able to see rapid and breakout success. So the first one is the campaign structure. So we've got the search volume, so how many people are looking for the products you're selling, and then we've got the bid price. So the bid price is that cost per click bid. The more we bid, the more visibility we're going to show up on the carousel and get what we call impressions. So the more visibility you get for your products, the more you pay. But the problem with this is the more you pay, if you move from paying 20p a click to 50p a click, for every single click, your profitability is going to come down. So what we see is that often accounts are all aiming to be in the middle for any way they're maximizing this. And we call this the sweet spot. So they could be underbidding. This is where they're missing out on a lot of relevant people in their market looking for what they sell. And that could be because they're bidding 20p when actually it'd be very profitable at £1. Likewise, they could be only profitable at £1, but they're bidding £2. So they're now overbidding, paying too much for those clicks, and it's going to be loss-making on every sale that comes through. So what can we do about this? Well, Google really looks at and recommends grouping products. So these could be grouped around the product types. So what we can see here is you would go into your campaign, or your agency or your in-house team would be going into the Google Shopping campaign, and they'd be grouping similar products together. So maybe if you've got, let's say for this example, 9,107 SKUs, it's a pretty large catalogue, so they've got to group these together and break them down. So they've got 100 t-shirts, so they group those 100 t-shirts together. They've got 8,000 trousers and jeans, so they're going to group those products together because they're going to perform differently. Naturally, jeans and t-shirts are going to perform differently, and they can see the average performance. So what I mean by that is how much revenue is generated for every click, and they can then set that as the cost per click, so it's going to be profitable. And this is what we see commonly. So we see many accounts, and they've got exactly this approach. It might be on product type, it might also be on brand. So could be all the Nike products together, all the Adidas products together, because naturally they're going to perform differently. Or it could be based on margin. You might do very high margin products where you're making a lot of profit per sale. You can afford to bid more for these, and likewise for those where they're low margin, so you're very low, maybe 5-10% margin, you're going to have to bid a lot less for that revenue because there's a lot less profit in it. So these are different ways that Google recommends that you structure your campaigns through grouping products. The big downside of this is that we've got 9,107 unique product SKUs, so unique line items in different colors, different sizes, different genders, and we've only got 10 bids. So because of this, we've now got averages. That could be a couple of pairs of jeans that might be really top performing, that might be really popular in really popular sizes, are now being brought down. So we're bidding less for those cost per clicks because of products which are underperforming, less popular, lower conversion rates, lower profit margins. So this means that we get that as we do through this method, whilst we're working on averages, you're going to end up with some products which should be higher and some which will be lower. Whereas our approach at Bidnamic is to take every single unique product SKU and X-ray it, analyze it, understand it, bring in factors like its true cost, its individual conversion rate, so how many clicks to get a sale on a specific product in a specific size and colour. And this allows us to bring in then the cost price. So rather than having to group products based on their average margins, we can take into account the actual cost to buy the product and the actual sale price to calculate the real profitability of that product. And this allows us to get these big groups of products much closer. So here we can see one of these little targets being, for example, an individual SKU, like the Adidas socks in a certain colour, a Converse in white. So again, it really allows us to break down and get granular and gain control. If you're using Google Smart Shopping, which is again a popular method, it has no control. You can't control the individual SKUs, so you're again much more in the frame of the previous slide, where you've got very little control over your campaigns. And again, if you do, you're going to be grouping a lot of products together to understand the conversion data. So you might be thinking, how can we do this? Why has Bidnamic got this approach? Well, this is because it's built on machine learning, which allows us to understand every individual SKU and the similarity and difference between products. The second most important part on really getting your full potential out of Google Shopping is to understand that every search term performs very differently. And we call this, at Bidnamic, we call this purchase intent. What is the intent of that shopper when they're going to Google to search for that individual search term? So as we talked about earlier, if they've gone to Google and they've typed in trainers, they probably don't know exactly what type of trainers. So they're very much less likely to buy from that awareness term than a consideration term like men's running trainer. They've drilled down the gender, they've given us the use case. This isn't, they're not trainers for different use, they're running trainers. And then the third group, which we call purchase terms. This is exactly models, sizes, ages, genders, really descriptive, really unique to individual items that you sell. So here we can see Nike Zoom men's running trainer black. We've got the colour there, we've got the use case, we've got the brand, we've got the model zoom. Really detailed descriptive terms. So what we've seen is that these different terms, like we would expect, perform very differently. You will still get sales from the word trainer, but you're going to need so many more clicks for this because it's going to be a lot less revenue and a much lower conversion rate, a much lower click to sale ratio. So here's some data which supports this. And what we can do is we offer free audits where we're able to analyze this for your account if you've been active on Google Shopping, and we can see if this is the case for your business or not. And again, it's not the case for all companies. So this doesn't work for every business. But here we can see a business where we've got, for example, awareness terms. So a women's jacket. So women's leggings, very, very generic, very much awareness terms, very little detail. And we can see that that's equating to 70% of their traffic, which is coming through. They've got a healthy conversion rate on this at 4%, and the click-through rate, which is how often it's shown on the carousel, to shoppers selecting that product. And the click-through rate is a really important metric. And it's really important because it's effectively a really good guide of relevance. Is this image relevant to the search term? The more accurate it is, the more it's the right color, the right size, the right gender, the right model, the more it's what they're looking for, and the more likely they are to click on it. So click-through rate is really important. And of course, as a business, return on ad spend. So here, for every £1 put in on awareness terms, which has taken 70% of their traffic, they've paid on average 51p for the click in this example, and has returned £2 and 2 pence back. So, it's pretty low return on ad spend for these search terms. Very much a low return on ad spend when we move down to consideration terms. So here they're starting to include Nike running sweatshirts, half zip. So we're getting details of the brands coming in. We're getting size 12. So Cloud Foam, Adidas slides, size 12. We're getting women's crop Nike fleece hoodie. So again, much higher return on ad spend, which is much more profitable. And for this, it means that we can bid more. But actually what we see here is they're bidding less for these terms, just 35p, and that's 20% of their traffic volume. Finally, we move down to the purchase terms. So these are very descriptive. Adult, 19.3 FG Shadow, Beast adults. These are model numbers. Maybe they've been to a competitor's website. Maybe it's out of stock or a slow delivery time, or maybe it's not a price they're happy with. So that shopper has copy-pasted it, put it into Google, and is seeing can they find it. They're at the point of purchase. And we can see this because look at that return on ad spend. So for every £1 put in against purchase terms, they're returning £14 and 1 back. And that is different to just £2 and 2 pence back for that £1 put against awareness terms. So incredibly profitable. But what we're seeing here is actually they're paying the least for these most profitable search terms. And the reason for that is because with Google Shopping, advertisers and retailers don't have the control over the campaign. And this is what our technology at Bidnamic allows them to do. And we allow this by doing it in this form. So we take every single unique SKU, we understand its profitability, we understand how many clicks it takes to get a sale, and we then bid this differently for these individual terms. So here we've got the trainers, we've got a 4% conversion rate on these generic terms, two times return on return on ad spend in this example. So here we need to be bidding less. We need to be bidding just pennies. And this is going to put us at the back of the carousel, meaning that we're getting a lot less visibility. As we move down, maybe women's Nike trainer. So now it's a consideration term. We're getting the brands coming in there. We've seen that return on ad spend move. That means we can bid more. And by bidding more, we're going to move our advert across the carousel to around this middle position indicated by the yellow box. Sometimes it'll be a bit further along, sometimes it'll be a bit further back because it's due to the competition. But the reality here is we can afford to bid more because the profitability is there to do so. And then when we move down to the purchase terms, this is where we're getting the exact model numbers, sizes, ages, genders coming on these search terms. Incredibly profitable, 14 times return versus just 2 on those awareness terms. We can bid so much more for these, and we can be really aggressive. And by being aggressive for this individual product SKU, so this specific model in a specific size, in a specific color, and by bidding so much more for that search term, we're able to beat our competitors, not for all of the clicks, but just for this individual search term against this individual product, which we know is profitable. That will position the advert towards the top impression, this first position on the carousel, which receives on average around 60 to 65% of clicks, meaning that we're able to dominate that traffic when it's really, really profitable and a really specific, detailed purchase term. So why is this really important? It's important because, as we said earlier on, one of the big challenges with Google Shopping is being able to compete and outrank your competitors, because there is hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of other advertisers and retailers that have your product, whether they're in this country, whether they're able to ship into the UK, whether they're able and internationally. So we can see the brands you're coming up with and coming up against. And again, this is able to be shared to you in the audit if you're interested in doing an audit and seeing if we can assist. And we can also see how you're able to be positioned against these brands. So this is real data. We've got a detailed case study on the website, which you can find in the comments. And here we see the awareness traffic. So this is a Bidnamic client who'd been with us for over a year. And what we saw here was they're in the sports apparel space, so athletic sports, and they were coming up 46% for awareness traffic. They were able to do this because they were dominating consideration. So consideration was 80% of the time that someone went to Google and typed in, for them it's like player kits, football teams, they would come up 80% of the time to showing up on that carousel. Very profitable in their sweet spot of profitability. And then as people refined down the search term even further, these search terms became purchase terms. They were able to take market share at 83% of the time, meaning they're showing up much more often on that carousel as those terms get more profitable and more detailed. So what we can see here is against very smart advertisers like Amazon. Amazon's good at flexing up and being able to get more visibility when it's more detailed, but they weren't able to get to that next level of pushing and taking those purchase terms, that impression share away. So we can see here our client taking that impression share away from Amazon.com, taking it away from soccer.com, and even Nike. And Nike, who manufacture the kits, you would assume would have even better margins, could be even more aggressive at getting pushed out because of this detailed knowledge of the search terms that convert and having that control to be able to outbid on those profitable terms. The third point and final point is the search term data. So if you're using Smart Shopping, which is Google's entry-level automation technology, you're losing all your search term data, and I cannot explain how important this is. You're also losing a lot of the performance data and insights on this. So this is really important that you look into that and see if you're a data-driven business, this is going to be really important to you. If not, then that's absolutely fine. It's not that level for some businesses, but what we can see is this search term data is the new gold. It's absolutely the defensibility you can build around your business. What do I mean by the defensibility? Understanding the search term data allows you to take here the purchase terms, take the consideration terms away from competitors who are running on Smart Shopping and aren't going to be even aware of those search terms. They can't see them. Google's hiding them in their accounts in return for their automation. So again, hugely important in Google Shopping, just as it is in search ads, to understand the words that are coming in, how much you're paying for them, and optimizing the bidding, and to do that at an individual SKU and search term level, which is what the Bidnamic technology is built to do. So here's a really interesting example. So right now, every advertiser, you go onto Google, you click the carousel, and you're taken to a product page. That means that's the exact item you click on. In an exact color, an exact size, it will take you to that product page. And that makes sense. There is no way to direct Google Shopping traffic to category pages, which you can do on text ads. You can do it in Facebook ads. You can do it in other channels. But for Google Shopping, it's individual products, individual SKUs that are being advertised and clicked onto, and it's taking you to that product page of your e-commerce store. But when we think about the use case, this means that someone who types in trainers is clicking on the carousel on a Nike shoe, and they're then taken to this product page. And the majority of product pages have things like people also bought, and a lot of information on the product. You scroll down, then you see caps, Nike tops. Actually, there's no trainers there at all. So really, this experience is akin to walking into a shop, into a shoe store, and asking the clerk that comes over, saying, "Oh, can you show me trainers?" And they bring you in and they show you one specific shoe. That's all they're going to show you. And then they show you all other items which are not relevant. So this is how the experience on most e-commerce stores is. The consumer's search term that they enter the website is either not seen if they're using Smart Shopping, or is not listened to and understood by the retailer in the shopping experience. Whereas really, when we think about what we should be doing, we should be tailoring this experience. So the on-site shopping experience should match what the customer is looking for when they enter the website. So just like if you went into a shoe store and you asked them for trainers, then the shoe clerk is likely to ask you, oh, is that for yourself? Is it men's trainers? Is it women's trainers? Is it kids trainers? So they know where to direct you into the shop, to the right area. But obviously this doesn't happen, but it can happen, and it can happen through our technology, because we have the link between individual SKUs, so the individual model, the page they're coming onto, and the search term, so the awareness search term, which allows us to dynamically change not only how much we're paying for that click, not only what the search term is and bidding the right amount, but also that shopping experience when they get to the store. And again, this is lost by smart shopping and entirely impossible, as it is with many manual campaign structures. The second part is consideration terms. Let's imagine we went into the store and we asked for, well, can we have a men's running trainer? Then immediately the clerk would know where to take us. They'd show us a wall full of different running shoes, and no doubt they'd have some more follow-up questions. And this is exactly what we can do. We still take them to the product page, but now it looks like a specific category, men's running trainers. And likewise, if you go into the store and you said, look, I want a Nike Zoom men's running trainer in black, size 10, please. The clerk wouldn't take you to the wall of shoes and ask, which shoe do you want? They should show you that exact product, and they should showcase you the use cases. Get out of the way, let the shoppers buy. And again, this is what our technology at Bidnamic can do. It can understand the campaign structure of an individual SKU, search term, and this can be used to dynamically change the e-commerce store. What's the impact of this? The impact is huge. Suddenly you're listening to the customers, you're paying the right price for the product, the right price for the search term that they've typed in on Google to get you in the right position where it's going to be profitable, and finally you've given them a fantastic experience. And this means that customers, between the Nosto and Volcom case study, we can see a 3.5 times conversion rate. That means customers are 3.5 times more likely to buy the product, and a 10% more average order value. So if we remember the reasons why Google Shopping fails for many retailers, it can be because the conversion rate, that the website speed is much lower than their competitors. This can be exactly the same. It can be the average order value. It can be the fact that when they're selling £20 and you're only selling £10 worth, but the click is costing the same. So here we can see how by understanding this information, it can have a big impact through smart and intelligent recommendation, as was the case, as we can see here, between Nosto and Volcom. And then Bidnamic's impact. So again, with Volcom, we can take this and we can take these winnings and these learnings and we can optimize the campaigns. So we can ensure that the products are coming up at the right price. We can do it for individual SKU level. So how much is the margin on this product? What's the lifetime value? What's the conversion rate for this individual product SKU? So that's an item in a specific color, and that can have a massive impact. So here we see in just 6 months, a massive revenue growth of 32%. So I'm sure many of you know Volcom, massive skate brand, ROAS growth 34% higher. That's the return on ad spend. That means for every dollar that was spent, every pound that was spent, 34% more is coming back. And the conversions growth, the volume of conversions coming back, 35% more orders, 32% revenue growth, and every single order, cost per order has fallen 27%. So this is huge. There's a much more detailed case study on the website at bidnamic.com /case studies /Volcom. So yeah, check it out. And finally, we're working with hundreds of retailers to unlock their full potential of Google Shopping through these areas of really assisting them to grow and reach that full potential. So there's loads of case studies on the website. I hope this talk's been useful, and it's been kind of maybe two outputs. Firstly, maybe you've been able to realize that Google Shopping isn't going to be the channel for you to grow your business, and that's really, really important as well. There's so many great channels in marketing to go and grow an e-commerce business. Likewise, if you are using Google Shopping, hopefully some of these tips and tricks are going to make you think about how you can get your campaigns to the next level. As I say, we do offer a free performance audit where we can deep dive into your account, understand if there is an opportunity. Often there's not, and we'll be very upfront. If there is, we'll be able to showcase exactly what that looks like for you as a business, and maybe move things forward, maybe not. That's great. Thanks a lot for your time. I'm Liam Patterson, the CEO of Bidnamic. If you've got any questions, feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much. Cheers.